Hey, grade 9. So we are almost done the novel of The Giver, and we finally found out what release is. So I gave you a warning about chapter 19 ahead of time because we finally know what it is, and it is a shocking revelation. So what we learned about release earlier in the novel, it's not what we thought it was. So again, just a heads up about chapter 19, and of course I explain it in the course selling booklet as well. So we're going to get into the summaries, and if you weren't able to join us for Google Meet, we finish up the novel tomorrow, so I hope all of you can join us again at 12 o'clock for our final class regarding The Giver next Monday and Tuesday. The Google Meet will only be open for an hour from 12 to 1. If you have any questions about TED Talks, and your projects and summaries are due Monday. They need to be in Monday so I can mark it and get it back to you, get your marks back to you, and then focus just on TED Talks and finalize marks, because we're done a week today. Our class is done Thursday. Excuse me. So that's why it's important to get your projects and summaries in on Monday. If you are bringing it into the school, your projects into the school, please let me know ahead of time. Wear your masks, and I'll meet you either at the front doors or in the fishbowl. And also bring your novels so we can get that returned to the library. Okay. Or you can drop it off the novels at the main office. But if you're bringing in the project, I'll meet you at the halfway point there, or for sure at the front doors. Just email me and say, hey, I'm going to be there in 10 minutes. Okay, and we can go from there. All right, so let's get to The Giver. And chapter 18. Okay, so chapter 18, and you can press pause at any time. So we find out who Rosemary is, and that she was the previous receiver in training. And she experienced loss as the big memory, where Jonas experienced a war and death. And so that was quite overwhelming for Rosemary, and so she asked to be released. That is why Jonas's rule says he cannot ask for release. So they made changes after that. And the Giver suggests a path of a what-if scenario, and he alludes to the possibility of what if Jonas left the community, and what kind of impact would that have on the community? So we find out about that obviously in chapter 20. So the heads up chapter, of course, is chapter 19. And because he's a receiver training, he has access to the video recordings of what takes place in the community. And we find out what released elsewhere is, and that it's that twin, the twins that the father was talking about, and we find out that the lighter twin, the one that didn't weigh as much, that one was to be released, and we find out what father does to the baby to release the child. And then Jonas remembers a memory that he received from his the memory that the Giver gave him of war and death, and he's able to make the connection that what happened in that memory is happening now in this video recording. And so he realizes that this happens to the ceremony of the old, and of course Rosemary, it happened to Rosemary as well. So he quite overwhelming for him, and now he doesn't want to go home because of what he knows, especially what his father has done. But the Giver says his father doesn't understand why these things, why he's doing what he's doing. It's just it's part of his job, but he doesn't know the meaning and the context and the impact it has by his actions, and what it does for not just for himself, for those around him, because nobody knows how to respond to it. And so Jonah stays overnight, and then they come up with a plan that Jonas is going to leave the community, the giver is going to stay behind, and all the memories are going to come back, and the giver is going to help the community adjust to that. But Jonas is going to be gone forever, and moving on to elsewhere. Obviously, the definition for elsewhere is not going to be the same for what Jonas is going to experience, because both Jonas and the giver believe there is an elsewhere, there's something beyond. And so the seeing beyond, and the giver says his trait was hearing beyond. So he was able to hear music. So keep that in mind as we finish up this novel. Okay, so there you go for the giver. And if you're wondering about the background, well, obviously I didn't change it, but this is the background I'm going to be using for the How to Conquer Your Fears by Doing a TED Talk presentation in the virtual world through either Meet or Zoom. So please watch that video to help you prepare for your TED Talks. All right, until then, take care and be safe.